Hello, welcome to this Dawn Busters Taste Challenge. Well, this morning, and I'm going to answer people's comments and stuff from the last day in a little while. After this, I didn't have a chance to do that. I didn't wake up early this morning like I usually do. Normally, I get up around 3 o'clock, between 3 and 4 a.m. Well, I stayed up later than normal last night because I went to work at Bingo, and then I got back, and Wanda had made us all hamburgers over there, so I wanted to eat the burger. I put some cheese on it. I wanted to eat the burger, and that was around 8:30, 9 o'clock. Well, I mean, once you're awake like that, you're not going to just go lay down and go to sleep. You probably just won't be, you just be laying in bed, So I noted, I said, I wonder if they're still doing that hangout from 5:30 in the afternoon. And sure enough, they were. I couldn't believe it. And but they were offline, so I joined that for about an hour, and then finally I went to bed, but didn't really go straight to sleep. So Bingo always kind of disrupts. But I wasn't planning to come on here any earlier than 6:15 Central Time, honestly, because I wanted to watch the top of the hour news, 6 a.m. news on WDSU Channel 6. So now tomorrow I plan to do the reverse. Start well, let's see. Let me think about how I'm going to do tomorrow. Either start about 6:10 and go to exactly 6:30. I couldn't go past 6:30. Or do a overnighter. Say start at 5:30 and then stop at exactly 6 to watch the news. I have to think about that, but it doesn't really matter, does it? Tyler Manso. Hello, Tyler. He says, good to be alive today. It is good to be alive every day. Because one day you're not going to be alive, right? So it was a very interesting hangout last night, as you well know. I'm drinking coffee. That's going to be my palate cleanser. I don't think this is going to be much of a challenge, to tell you the truth, but we're looking at Heaven Hill, Kentucky blended whiskey. Now, if it says Kentucky, my hand is swollen. I get some kind of problem with my hand. I've had this like 5 years when it gets cold. And then it just goes away. I think a spider bit my hand years ago, and like on my fingers here. It was really messed up. And then it just dissipated, but it like flares back up. Strange, isn't it? But anyway, so it's swollen and it hurts like hell. All right, so Heaven Hill, Kentucky blended whiskey. Now, if it says Kentucky, that means that's the distillation designation. I read that on the Tax and Trade Bureau website. So if it says Kentucky on it, it doesn't have to say anywhere else distilled in Kentucky, because that is where it is distilled. I read that. They don't have to duplicate that. Now, a lot of these will say American blended whiskey. Well, if it says that, that means it's distilled somewhere in the United States of America, but they're not giving it a state. Now, below, they'll usually say blended and bottled at such and such, like Majestic Distilling, Baltimore, Maryland. So that means that more than likely they shipped the liquors in, the grain neutral spirits, the straight whiskey, whatever, and then they blended it at this, what they call rectification plant, and then they bottled it. Okay, so anyway, versus, okay, so Heaven Hill, this has been around a long time. How long, I don't know. You can get this for $6.19 a bottle at Racetrack. The price has dropped. You know, most things are going up in price. This one's going down. $6.19. Couldn't believe it. Okay. I'll pour a little bit. It's 30 degrees this morning over here. It's freezing outside. But the prediction, the forecast is to get up to 56, 57. If it gets sunny, it might go to 60. I don't know. versus Seagram's VO Gold. This is not VO, the one you get everywhere. This is VO Gold, aged 8 years, from Canada. Blended Canadian whiskey. Now, they said that each of the whiskeys used in these blends might use sometimes like literally dozens of different whiskeys. Each of the whiskeys used is aged at least 8 years. Okay, so that's the minimum age. There may be some age longer, but this was discontinued in 2017, and the company told me it is not. Well, they didn't definitively say it's not coming back. They said, the lady, I have the email, she said, VO Gold, unfortunately, or we regret to tell you, something like that, has been discontinued, and the company has no plans to bring it back. So she didn't say it's never coming back. They said they have no plans. Like years ago, Mrs. Hillary Clinton, are you going to run for president? I have no plans for that. She didn't lie. No. Maybe 1 second after the question was asked, she might have had plans for it. But at that particular moment, she had no plans for it. All right. Gold. Some alcohol eggs. It's more amber, though, than gold, by the way. And which one is this? The Heaven Hill. Okay. It's kind of like the same shade. Now, the sun is just peeking above the horizon, and I mean just, all right? So it's still dark here on King's Day. Today is King's Day, 12th night. This is the beginning of Carnival, meat interval. This is the beginning of the meat interval. Carnival, the winter festival. Okay. And it's King's Day because this is when, right, Epiphany, this is when the three kings, the three wise men visited the baby Jesus Christ in Bethlehem, right? Balthazar, Caspar, and Melchior. Their legendary names, Balthazar, Caspar, and Melchior. Three kings bearing gifts, right? Gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And that's why the king cake. And in Spain, they have one called something Royal or something. I posted a picture of the Spanish, the Hispaniola king cake on Facebook. That's why the king cakes in Louisiana have the three colors, purple, green, and gold. That's the colors of Carnival, purple, green, and gold. Purple, that's myrrh, the burial spice. Green, frankincense, that's the, what is that, a spice from a fir tree, sort of a turpentine type spice. And that would be done for a celebration. And then gold, a gift for a king. Got it? Carnival, three kings. Matthew Harrelson says, good to have Elijah Craig today. Oh, do you know I could have drank some of that Elijah Craig last night at bingo when I was working bingo, and they had Elijah Craig barrel proof. But I said, no way I'm drinking this stuff. It's too dang strong. And I could have drunk Crown Royal as much as I wanted. They had a big 1.75 liter, 1,750 milliliter glass jug bottle. And they were drinking it. They were all drinking that. But I said, nah. I already had that. The rest, I finished off, I polished off the Paul Masson VSOP brandy, which is a beautiful brandy. And it's only $12.99 or $13.99, depending where you are. Age 4 years in Barton 1792 bourbon barrels. Golly, that is a spicy brandy, and they have no added flavors or colorings, to my knowledge. I say that because if you read the government regulations, brandy does not have to disclose if it has added colors or spices or flavorings. So like I said, to my knowledge, it's not flavored. but it's a jewel whether it is or not. Oh, so good. So I drank that, and I said, I am not drinking any more liquor. I'm not going to sell specials, early bird, 5th game special, 8th game special, letter X, and be loaded up on brandy and Crown Royal. I want my money to even out, and it all was perfect. It all evened out. Everything was even. No short. I wasn't short. Matthew says, are you an Orioles fan? I would not say I'm a fan. I mean, I watch them. If they win, I'm happy, I guess. I've been to their stadium about 4 or 5 times, yes. The first time I went to Orioles Park was 2003, and then I believe I went back in 05, 10, 12. I think the last time was 2015. Orioles Park at Camden Yards. I've been there at least 4 times. And I know where to park for free, by the way. I do know I'll park there for free every time. That's a true story. You got to walk a little bit, but it's not bad. You just, well, I'm not going to say too much because the wrong people will find out, and then that'll be gone. You won't be able to park for free anymore. He said it's 10 degrees here. I don't know how you get that little degree mark. I can't. Do they have a degree mark on a computer keyboard? I don't know how to get all these icons. It's supposed to be 28 as the high. It sounds completely miserable. You need a Glencairn tasting glass. I know, right? As much whiskey tasting as you do, it would be right. I know. I mean, I can't. I see those little tulip shaped glasses, but I see them on the internet, but I've never seen them in a store. And I'm definitely not going to look for them. But I like these snifter glasses because they're really small, and you find that you won't overdo it. You know what I mean? Even if I drank 2 full of these glasses, it wouldn't be a whole lot. So it's kind of a good thing to start the day, not to overindulge. And I'm here to taste it. I'm not here to drink it anyway. Tyler Mansell says, -16 here. What the heck? I got to warm my car up. Huh. I'm telling you right now. I don't know how people live through that. And Louisiana's too cold for me, so cold makes my nose running. Although I haven't been sick, have not been sick. Thank God I haven't been sick. I mean, nothing, no sickness. I take a vitamin C every morning. Every morning, take 1 vitamin C. Seems to help. Okay, so that's my palate cleanser. The Great Value medium roast coffee with vitamin D milk, no sugar. I don't think this is going to be much of a challenge, but let's see. Yeah, think about like in the 1680s, right? Like they had people living in Wisconsin and all that when the French explored Wisconsin. When Wisconsin was part of Louisiana. That's right. Wisconsin was part of Louisiana. And people settled up there in La Crosse, Prairie du Chien. What is that? Dog Prairie. All those French names up there. Terre Haute, Indiana, Highland, Indiana. And, but they had these bitterly cold winters back then, right? So but they survived, right? How did the people survive? But they lived through it. I'd rather live in a climate like Miami where today is going to be about 80 degrees, 78 degrees. That's my kind of weather. And I read a story back about 1687. The French were freezing up there in Wisconsin. It was very cold like today. And one of the French asked one of the Indians, Merrimack Indian, whatever, he says, Monsieur, why is it so bitterly cold? You say in French. Oh, I did hear a man speaking French last night at the Knights of Columbus Hall. He answered the phone and he started speaking French no, for a long time to probably his brother or whoever called. But yes, there's still a lot of people in Louisiana that speak French. Yeah, I could imagine how they survived this without electricity. It would be painful. I mean, it's unbelievable how they could survive, but they did. But the Frenchman asked the Indian, he says, Monsieur, you know, why is it so cold in this country? And the Indian said, it global climate change. That's what he told him. And that was in 1683. The Indian told him it was global climate change. So we know that any kind of weather we have, hot, cold, moderate, very rainy, dry, moderately dry, any climate we have, I mean, any kind of weather we have, it's you can attribute that to global climate change. I know that. It's the truth. What about the Canadian tribe that dominated everything there for hundreds of years? Well, not after the French showed up, they didn't dominate it. Okay. Okay. Hey, you know what? I'm blabbing my mouth, but there's a reason for that. I'm not telling them apart in this aroma. You notice that? Can you smell it? Smell that through the internet. Okay. I'll smell that through the internet. See what I mean? Look. The Cree. Oh, right. The Cree. Yeah, we had a bunch of different tribes down here. We had the Caddo. That was Plains Indians with buffalo. Shreveport. They had buffalo out to Shreveport bison. And then we had Attakapas and Homas and Bayagula and Ponchatoula and Chafunkta. Not Chafunkta. Chapatulas and Natchez and Creek. They went all the way across down into Florida. The Seminoles were part of the Creek. I think they were most of them were part of the Muskogee Indian language, and I think the Caddo was more like a Sioux tribe. Actually, they still maintain influence. Oh, okay. Okay, all right, getting down to this. This one has that sweet, strange, man, I cannot, these Canadian whiskeys have a strange, hard to determine aroma, like it's a perfume, it's some kind of perfume, and I don't know, it's a cologne, yeah, it's like a cologne type aroma, yeah, but this one here, this is a corn aroma. This is like cornmeal. So maybe if I would have not been blabbing my mouth about geography and history again, which that's what I ought to do, give up beer reviews and whiskey reviews and wine and just concentrate on history, government. No, I'm not going to do that, but I could do it. All right. So I already think this is Seagram's, and I think that's Heaven Hill because that one is so cornmeal. And what, you know, the Heaven Hill is using that grain neutral spirits. What is that made out of? Oh, yeah, corn. So it's like corn whiskey. And they're mixing it with straight whiskey, which is probably Heaven Hill bourbon. So it's like corn on corn. So, hey, hey, hey. And this has got that strange perfume. So I'm going to already say that this is Seagram's, that's Heaven Hill, but let's go with the taste just to be sure. Woo! The rye note is so pronounced with the Seagram's. I mean, it's like bam, spice. Boy, I tell you what, they must have a high rye content for this. Now, I know, you know, for a long time, Canadian whiskey was nicknamed rye whiskey. That's what people called it, rye whiskey. But it wasn't really that much rye, but that's what people called it. But they use corn, barley malt, and rye. That's the mixture. Lots of corn, barley malt, and rye of so many different various ratio combinations, and it's blended to taste. It's blended to taste. Now, this is 80-20 blend ratio, but it's also blended to taste, obviously. Heaven Hill wants it to be absolutely perfectly the same every time. A big company like Heaven Hill does not want variation. They don't want to say, well, it's different batches taste differently. You know, craft beer companies will say that. Well, it was a different batch. And they say, well, that's the excitement of craft beer. Everything is different every time. That would be exciting, I guess, but it could bother some people because they might get used to a certain product and they want it to taste like the time they had it before, not taste different every time. So there's good and bad in that. And if you're trying to do a mass market, it's bad to do that. You know, you're not going to have that fluctuation too much with Samuel Adams. I mean, there was a problem with their Boston Lager, I noticed, from 2014 to 2016. Remember I talked about that? It tastes like cornbread. I don't know what was going on with it. Then suddenly it disappeared, that problem. And other people commented on my videos and said, I noticed that too, and it was not pleasant. So very sweet, sugary. There's that rye back note, that spice, right, that you get with the rye. Okay. Now, this could be harder to go up against Sazerac blended whiskeys. This could be a, you know what, against Sazerac. You know, a challenge. That's what I was going to say, a challenge. It could be a challenge. Because Sazerac, as we know, tends to do everything high rye. So, now, oh, this is sweet. It does have a rye note, but see, this one has just more of a base flavor, like generalized liquor, corn liquor, and that's what they're using, grain neutral spirits, which you may as well say is corn whiskey that is unaged. See, when they're doing the whiskey, they age it in the barrels, right? So it gets a color on it. You know, the char and whatnot turns it brown, amber, gold, you know what I mean, depending on how long. Now, when they just distill it and they don't age it, that's why it's the grain neutral spirits. They construct it in such a way that it's not supposed to have any flavor or aroma, really. It's just a bulk. So then you get that. All right. And where does the color come from then? How can this have color if it's 80% colorless, odorless corn distillate? Well, I'll tell you why. Because they're adding straight whiskey to it that has been aged at least 3 years, you see. And how do you know they're not blending them and then sticking them in a barrel for 3 years? You see what I'm saying? It might have been aged, it might have been blended together and then aged. Now, somebody told me the Canadian whiskey is not that way. They distill and age the rye here, the corn whiskey there, the barley, you know, the malt whiskey over there, and then they blend them after they're aged, distilled and aged. So I found that interesting. Now, let me read a few comments and I'm going to call it, but I don't think this is going to be much. Actually, okay, the antiseptic more apparent in one of the glasses. Oh, you could tell by smelling over the internet. Yeah, that's right. Let's talk about the Bay of Fundy. Okay. Oh, right, with the high, high, high and low, low tides. Matthew says, in Heaven Hill nails Elijah Craig. You got that right. Evan Williams. You got that right. And Henry McKenna. Okay, someone asked me the other day, do you get Henry McKenna in Louisiana? Well, I saw it at Mathern's yesterday, so yes, we get it. So affordable, too. Love those bourbons, says Matthew. This guy I talked to, and I got to talk to him later, he sent me some messages on Facebook and never got to check them this morning because I woke up late. I mean, late for me, 4:58. But James P. Madonna, he was saying, he's older than me. He's probably like 10 years older than me. He was saying he bought some Heaven Hill bourbon. He went to the liquor store in New Jersey and he told the guy, I want the cheapest bourbon you got. The guy said, there it is, Heaven Hill. That white label, I think it is. It's not the bonded. It's just a standard, whatever color it is. And he said it was cheap, like $7.98. But he said, boy, it was delightful. He was drinking it. He said, this is a fine bourbon for the price. You know, he thought it was going to be, he didn't know what it was going to taste like. But he was doing the videos, sending me the videos, private videos, bourbon, he said. I said, well, I can't get Heaven Hill bourbon, James. I said, but I can get that Heaven Hill blended, which is so dang popular in Louisiana. That coffee was getting cold. Is Heaven Hill blended Kentucky whiskey popular here because it's good, or is it popular because it's cheap? Well, Louisiana is one of the poorer states. We're not exactly known for personal wealth, although there are very wealthy people that live here, like the Goldring family, Mr. and Mrs. William Goldring, who own Sazerac Company, one of the biggest liquor companies in the world. So some people here have a lot of money. You know, Tom Benson, who grew up in public schools and grew up in a poor neighborhood, the 7th Ward in New Orleans, and ended up starting an automobile empire. And he bought the New Orleans Saints and the New Orleans Pelicans, and he bought Dixie Beer last year. So some people around here have some money, but generally, no, that's not wealthy. Well, about to make the call. That's got to be the charred oak. Oh yeah, that charred oak. Yeah. Now you notice I didn't really talk about charred oak here in this taste challenge. Does the Seagrams use charred oak barrels? Yes, they do. And they're aged 8 years, but it's used barrels, so it's not going to be as full of that char like you would get with a Jack Daniels, which always uses new barrels. Matthew says, laugh out loud. I was the one who asked you about Henry McKenna. Oh, okay. Sorry about that. I forget things sometimes, and some people get very angry. Like somebody sent me these Lone Star stickers once. I couldn't remember who sent it. And I said, somebody sent me this Lone Star, and he got enraged, a viewer. I sent that to you. And he unsubscribed and got angry. I was like, why would you get so angry about that? I get hundreds and hundreds of messages from people each week. And I answer them every day. I take time every day to answer these messages, you know, these comments and messages. Most of these people use strange internet names. You know what I mean? Like, don't you remember me? I'm Kabiga. And on Facebook, I'm Mimi Yugu. And on Google Plus, I'm Dynamite Jesse. It's like, no, I can't remember that, because across each platform, you use a different name, a different icon, whatever that's called. And I'm dealing with hundreds of people each week. No, I can't remember, especially when you're using all these different names. Now, Tyler Mansell, I can remember that. It's a name. Simply a name. Matthew Harrelson, easy to remember. It's not Chuggy Boo 95 77 12 Lightning, you know. All right. Well, if I get this wrong, I'm gonna be ashamed right here in public. Never live it down. So here we go. This is the Seagrams. Yes, SVOG, Seagrams VO Gold. I wasn't too worried, really. They were too discernible, that Heaven Hill HH. They're just too, what I put, HHK? No, HH. Hubert Humphrey. Now they're just too discernible. Like you say, do these things taste similar? Well, I mean, it tastes like whiskey, you know, in a generalized sense. You can see the sun coming up. Boy, it's foggy though. Ooh. There's a little fog in the air. That's strange. Wouldn't think that. It's just like it's odd. But it's going to be clear until the. Okay, so but they're not the same. Like I said, this one's the sugary sweetness, the rye note, the perfume aroma. It's very smooth and pleasant. I mean, it's just, oh, it's so mild. But on the other hand, the Heaven Hill, it's got a little more burn to it. But isn't that what you'd expect from Kentucky generally? Like a burn, a bourbon burn, little char. It's got the wood, the char. It's got those bourbon notes. It's not a bourbon, but it tastes like one. So it's like a poor man's bourbon. Oh, well, which one would I buy on a regular basis? That's only a theoretical statement because I never buy any liquor on a regular basis because I always want to try something new. If I lived 1,000 years, I might buy one on a regular basis. But there's only so much time, and you can't try everything if you're trying the same thing, correct? But in theory, which one would I buy on a regular basis? Hypothetically. Not to mention the Seagram's VO Gold has been discoed. Very nice, but it is $23 a bottle. Yeah, it's pretty nice. It's got a lot of little characters to it. Do you notice I have not called a winner? Let's think about that for a minute. I gotta shut this. It's letting cold. It's not a draft, but it's just coldness coming through that glass. That big shade, that big curtain kind of keeps the cold out. It's like an insulator. By golly, the Heaven Hill is only about $6 to $7. That one's $23. I don't know if I can call a winner. Buy Talisker. Oh, yeah, I've seen that. Matthew, if you look in my cabinet, in my kitchen, your comment would be, don't buy anything else. I beg you not to buy anything else. But I do have $35 left on that gift card. You hate to waste. You know I'm not going to waste it. Last chance to call a winner. I could just say, oh yeah, the VO Gold is better. After all, it's $23 a bottle. Heaven Hill, this budget whiskey, it's no competition. And then I won't have people on the internet telling me, you know, you're stupid. How can anybody say that they're equal? You have no taste. But I'm sorry, I can't say one wins. It's sort of like a tie. They're so different from each other, for one thing. But if I was buying them on a regular basis, I'd probably go with the Heaven Hill. I got to be honest. And that's, I mean, $6.19 a bottle. I mean, come on. And then I can probably go to Dorgnax and get the big handle bottle, you know, the big 1,750 milliliter bottle for about, about the same price, about $12.99. Yeah, $12.99, $13.99. So Maybe that's why Heaven Hill is so popular in Louisiana. People drink it. They know it's cheap. They're not stupid. You know what I mean? They know. But they like it. They think it's all right. You go to Dorgnac's and, hey, you know, there's lots of it. These size bottles and the big jug bottles at Dorgnac's. I mean, and it's just, it moves, buddy. It moves out of that store. And that's a well-heeled part of Metairie. That's not like the poor part of town. That's like the lawyer part of town. And the Beams 8-star sells like crazy over there. Now, VO Gold, they don't even carry it. Now, what does that tell you? But of course, Dorgnac's has super deluxe, above the top shelf whiskey. Now, let's not get that wrong. They have bottles of stuff that's hundreds of dollars. They've got brandy, cognac brandy for $3,000 or $4,000 a bottle at Dorgnac's, locked in a case. They've got $4,000 bottles of cognac brandy. So, but their big money is coming from the cheap stuff. I've talked to managers of these stores that sell a lot of craft beer. They say almost all their money is coming from Bud Light. Okay. That's where the profit is, the Bud Light. That gives them the money to buy the craft beer, which they say they don't make a whole lot of money off that. But they got to sell it. Otherwise, they're not in the game. You know what I mean? Like Mathern's, they'll sell more Bud Light in a weekend than craft beer they'll sell in a month, maybe more than that. I'm not downgrading craft beer. You're saying, oh, there you go again. No. I'm not praising Bud Light. I'm just saying that that's what they make money off of. Matthew Harrelson says you're hilarious. Oh, thank you. Can't help it. It's a gift. Eli is better than Drew. Now that's hilarious. That is a hilarious way to end this. Eli is better than Drew. Yeah. There's probably one other person in the world that might agree with you, like Eli himself, maybe. He probably would say, I'm not as good as Drew. Are you crazy? All right, anyway, so that's it. So tomorrow is going to be a little different course. Going to take a little different direction here. And we're going to do Heaven Hill versus Club 400. Club 400, American blended whiskey from Baltimore, Maryland. And if you want to preview, you can watch that video that David, you know, with the big beard, David and I made. He had no idea what Club 400 was, and I had barely any idea. There's almost no information about the stuff, except I did find out that it was introduced in 1951. It's a line of liquor, like they have Club 400 gin. Also, you know, I have these lines. And but he drank it, you know, and he had some little funny comments to make about it. It was obviously not great stuff, but he actually rated it a B. A B. He's very tough in his reviews, so he liked it, actually. He said a B. I mean, for that low price. And he also gave Miller Genuine Draft an A. An A. Most excellent. Okay, so thanks for watching this video production. And I got to go check all my stuff and do different things. So everybody have a nice, safe Saturday.